Hello everybody and welcome back to a brand new video on the channel, guys. So what we're going to be doing today we're going to be going over my Premier League predictions for the upcoming season, guys. So of course the Premier League season does kick off on Saturday and I can't wait for Premier League football to be back. It should be absolutely fantastic, and I've got a feeling about this season that this season's just going to be absolutely great with all the new managers coming into the league, a lot of new transfers coming into the league as well. I really do think this could be one of the best Premier League seasons there's been for a long time now. But just before we do get into my predictions, guys, I must say, don't hate on me. These are only my opinions and they probably won't come true, but if we do get a couple of these right, then I'd be quite happy with that. But like I said, guys, don't hate on me if you do disagree with me. If you do disagree with me, that's absolutely fine. Just leave it in the comments down below. Why do you disagree with me? I'd be very interested to know. And like I said, guys, this is probably one of the most unpredictable leagues in the world. I mean, Leicester won the Premier League title last season, so literally anything can happen. So let's just get into my predictions. So in terms of my bottom three, as you can see, coming rock bottom of the table, I've got Hull. Just above them, I've got Burnley, and then just above them, perhaps a bit of a shock this one, I'm actually going to say Watford are going to go down. So the reason I've got Hull in there is, as I'm recording this right now, Hull still don't have a permanent manager in charge, and the squad that they've got isn't really Premier League quality in my opinion. So I think they're going to be the team coming rock bottom of the league. I don't think many people would disagree with that, really. Then coming bottom next to them, I've got Burnley. In their squad, I just don't think they've got what it takes to survive. I mean, Andre Gray's probably going to score goals this season, but I think in the midfield is where Burnley fall apart really this season, in my opinion. Obviously, they lost Joey Barton, who was a pivotal role in their promotion last season, and the midfielders they've got, they've got players like Jones and Marnie in there, Boyd, Arfield. They're not Premier League quality in my opinion. I just can't see them staying up. If they were to invest heavily somehow from now till the end of the season, then maybe, but I think Dash is a good manager, but honestly, I can't see them staying up if I'm being completely honest. And then my next one is actually Watford. This one could surprise quite a few people, I've got a feeling. But the reason I put them in there is because obviously they've got a new manager who's new to the league. We never know how that's going to turn out. It can go one of two ways and you never know how it's going to turn out. The other reason I say that is because they're forming the tail end of last season. In 2016, in fact, they only won 4 matches. I mean, that's relegation form itself. And I know they've got players in their squad who are Premier League quality. They've got players like Deeney and Igalo up front, but if anything was to happen to those strikers, whether, they were to get injured or whether they were to actually leave the club, obviously they have been linked away from Watford, I think Watford would be in a real mess of a state. And the signings they brought in so far, I'm not really too convinced by. So Watford, I'm saying they're going to get relegated. What do you think of that in the comments down below? I'd be very interested to know. And then the teams coming from 17th up to 11th, I have the following. I've got Bournemouth, Sunderland, Swansea, West Brom, Middlesbrough, Crystal Palace, and then Stoke. So the reason I've got Bournemouth finishing just above the drop zone is, we all know it's a bit of a cliche, but I think Bournemouth will suffer really from second season syndrome, if I'm being completely honest. So that's obviously the second season in a new league is always really tougher, and I think that they will struggle from that. A couple of their signs could be okay, players like Jordan Ibe, he could be really a hit and miss sort of player. Obviously they do have Callum Wilson back, who hopefully won't get an injury this season. He'll add to their goal scoring record, but honestly, I think they'll struggle down at the bottom, but I think they'll just about scrape survival, if I'm being completely honest. Then with Sunderland is a team which I'm not really too sure on, to be completely honest with you. I mean, of course, they do have David Moyes, but if anything, if their track record and their history suggests anything, that's that Sunderland are going to be in a relegation dogfight for pretty much all of the season, and then towards the last 6 or 7 matches, they'll manage to miraculously scrape themselves up from it. And honestly, I'm not going to disagree with that. I think David Moyes, he's a good manager for this league. I think he should do well at Sunderland, really. However, he's not had much time to put in place, new signings or anything like that. I actually don't think they brought anyone in so far. So for that reason, I think they'll start off the season quite poorly. But towards January, I think they'll start to pick it up from there, really. Again, with Swansea, I'm not really sure how they're going to do this season, really. I've seen Andre Ayew has been linked away. I've seen he's been linked to West Ham. Whether he's going to go or not, I'm not so sure. But if he is to leave, I think that will be massively detrimental to Swansea's season. Obviously, Gylfi Sigurdsson, another player there, they're going to have to keep him fit this season because he is a massive role for them. And if they're able to keep all their players fit, I think they should finish around about this part of the table. However, if they are going to get some injuries or some of their bigger players were to leave the club, I think Swansea could struggle this year. Then in 14th, we have West Brom. Yet again, really, they're a mid-table side in my opinion. They're a classic Tony Pulis side. They're not going to get relegated in my opinion, but they're not going to do much more than that. Obviously, this season West Brom have brought in Matty Phillips. He'll add a bit of pace to their squad, so it'll be interesting to see how it does. And it'll be interesting as well to see how Silliman Rondon does as well in his second season in the Premier League. And then next up, we have Middlesbrough. I think these one will be a bit of a surprise package this year, really. I think the signs they brought in have all looked very good. And I think you've got to really look at last season, really, to know what you think a newly promoted team will do and what they'll bring to the Premier League, really. Last season, Middlesbrough were incredibly solid at the back. I think they should carry that through to this season. Obviously, they have now got Victor Valdez in net, who should be a good goalkeeper for them. But their defensive record was very good last season, and as well as that, they do well going forward. They've got a couple of creative players in there. Added to that, they've now got Alvaro and Negredo as well, who should be a good buy for Middlesbrough. I think they'll do alright this season, Middlesbrough. More than alright, really. I think they'll come 13th. And then we have Crystal Palace and Stoke. So the reason I put Crystal Palace in there, I've been impressed with some of their business that they've done. I think what they've done well, they've added to the quality that they already had in the squad, really. Towards the end of last season, they did dip down a bit. However, I do expect Crystal Palace to bounce back up this year with the signs they made. You know, they've added players like Andros Townsend. He should be a fantastic player for them. I think he'll fit right into their club. You know, they like to play with two wingers. Townsend will fit right into that. And as well, they've sorted out their goalkeeper situation with Steve Mandanda. He should be a good buy for them, and hopefully for them, they'll become a bit more solid at the back this year. And then in 11th, we have Stoke. So dipping slightly lower than they were last season. The reason I put Stoke in there is because I think they'll be good going forward this season. At the back defensively, I'm not really so sure as in their back four. However, in goal, I think Butland's a good keeper. However, going forward, I think they'll do well this year, really. And now, guys, we have the teams up from 10th up until 7th. So in 10th, I've decided to put Southampton. I think they've got a good squad of Premier League proven players in this Southampton squad. I can see them dipping a bit lower than they were last season. Obviously, they have now lost Ronald Koeman, and they have also lost Wanyama as well. They've lost a couple of other players, so it'll be interesting to see how Southampton bounce back from that. I mean, every season Southampton seem to lose their big players, but nevertheless, they still seem to bounce back from it and bring in more quality to their squad. I mean, they brought in Nathan Redmond. He should be a good buy for them, and honestly, I think a mid-table finish for Southampton would be a realistic one this year. And in 9th, we have West Ham. The reason I put West Ham in here are slightly lower than they were last season, really. The reason I put them in there is because now, of course, they've got Europa League football to be contending with. Maybe, I mean, they still have to qualify through the rounds, but if they do get into the Europa League, I think they'll find a slight dip in where they finished last season. I also think as well that the competition from other teams above them will be a lot tougher this season for West Ham, and obviously they're going to need to keep Dimitri Payet fit. Whether he'll have the same season that he did last year, I'm not really so sure. And in 8th place, I have Everton. These guys massively underachieved last season, and yet again, if you go through their squad, they have such a good team that probably they could do a little bit better than that, obviously, with the added quality now of Ronald Koeman and what he brings to their side, really. If they're able to keep Romelu Lukaku, I think this will be a realistic finish for them. Obviously, they've got an abundance of youth and talent going through that squad, and Koeman's added to that as well, really, with what he brings to that squad as a manager. You know, obviously, last season they had Martinez. Didn't really work out for them as in defensively. I think Koeman should sort that out, and if they do sort out their defensive frailties, I think 8th will be a realistic finish for them. And then coming in 7th, I have Leicester City. Obviously, last season's Premier League champions. I've got them finishing in 7th. Obviously, they've lost N'Golo Kante, which is a massive detriment to them. And as well, Riyad Mahrez has been linked away from them. As well as that, they've got Champions League football to be contending with. Honestly, I would love it if Leicester could make it to the top 4 again this season. If they could make it and break into the top 4 again, fair play to Leicester. You know, everyone was saying last season, oh, they're going to fall apart now. They're going to fall apart now. A lot of people are saying that this season that, oh, they'll fall apart now. If they don't and they manage to replicate their form that they had in last season, I think they'll do well. But honestly, I can see them finishing in and around 7th. I think they've got a very good squad of players throughout there. Obviously, they've added to it with players like Musa. He's had a fantastic pre-season for them. But in all honesty, I don't think you can replace what N'Golo Kante gave to that Leicester squad and that title-winning team. If Riyad Mahrez was to leave as well, I think they'll dip a lot lower than they were last season. Let me know what you think of that in the comments down below. And in 6th and 5th, I have Liverpool and Chelsea. Obviously, just missing out on the Champions League. This one's a bit of a controversial one, really. I've seen a lot of people that are tipping Liverpool for the Champions League this season. Could I see it? In all honesty, I think they're still one season away from Champions League football. I think Jurgen Klopp's taking them in the right direction. With the signings they brought in so far, I don't really know what to think of them, really. I think they've got a good competition, which is always a good thing. However, you know, the signs of Mane, Wijnaldum, Matip and Karius, I think they all have to prove themselves and what they actually add to this Liverpool side, really. Will they improve Liverpool? Yes, I think they will. But do they have what it takes to break into the top 4 this season? I don't think so. The reason I say that is because I still don't think their defence is good enough to make it into the top 4. If I'm being completely honest, I think going forward they'll score a lot of goals this season. However, defensively, obviously it's yet to be seen whether Matip and Karius will fit into this league. However, as well as that, you know, they've got players in their back line. I mean, they've got Moreno at left back. I just don't think that defense is strong enough to make it into the top 4, in my opinion. And then in 5th, I actually have Chelsea. This is a bit of a controversial one as well. A lot of people are thinking that Chelsea could potentially challenge for the title. I'm not really so sure with Chelsea. I mean, I think that Antonio Conte was a fantastic appointment for Chelsea. I think he'll improve them from what they were last season. However, what I do think a lot of people are forgetting is that just how bad Chelsea were at times last season. I mean, they were dreadful last season. I know there was things going on behind the scenes, which is other reasons added to why they did so badly last season. However, I don't see a team going from finishing 10th in the Premier League this season before to suddenly making it into the Champions League. Obviously, I know it happened with Leicester last season, but they were a freak of nature, really. And with this Chelsea side, I'm just not sure they're going to make it this season. Obviously, if they do add some more quality to that squad, really, and Conte really does galvanise that squad together, of course they could make it into the top 4. I wouldn't be too surprised, but honestly, I'm going to say they're going to narrowly miss out. Now to my top 4. In 4th, I actually have Tottenham Hotspurs. I think Mauricio Pochettino, every season he's been in charge of this Spurs side, they've improved every single year. I know finishing 4th will be a slight downgrade from what they were last year. However, saying that, I think a top 4 finish will be more than good enough for Spurs, considering the competition they're going to face in the upcoming season. I think a lot of people are writing Spurs off this season. However, if you look at what they did last season, at times they were phenomenal, and they went on a huge unbeaten run at one point of the season as well. They got a fantastic team. They got guaranteed goals in players like Harry Kane. They got creativity from the midfield in players like Eriksen and Dele Alli, and then they got defensive stability as well. They probably got one of the best defenses in the league, if I'm being completely honest, with Alderweireld and Vertonghen at the heart of their defense, with Lloris in net. They probably got one of the best defenses in the league. As well as that, they've also added to that as well. They bought another striker to help Harry Kane out this season, and of course they've added Victor Wanyama as well, who I think will help massively. Actually, I think he'll take some of the pressure off Eric Dyer and Dembele, so they won't have to be starting every week. And honestly, I can see Spurs finishing 4th just about. Then into 3rd, I actually have Arsenal. A lot of people this year as well are writing off Arsenal. I mean, Arsenal are always going to be that team that's going to be in and around the title, but they never quite have enough to make it. I don't think it's going to be any different this season, if I'm being completely honest, and I can definitely see Arsenal finishing in 3rd place. Obviously, last season they did finish in 2nd. It's a bit, you can't really read too much into that really last season with Arsenal, because they had a very up and down season. However, saying that, I do think Arsenal will finish 3rd this season. The reason I say that is because in their squad they've already got proven quality, and as well as that, they've got a manager who of course already knows their team. A lot of new managers are going to be coming into the Premier League this season. I think a lot of them will take time to adjust to it as well. So I think the start of the season, Arsenal really should get off to a good start to the season. I do think they still need to add to their squad. I'm expecting them to add to their squad, so it's a bit of a bold prediction really, but I'm expecting them to go out and sign a striker. If they aren't going to do that, I can see them finishing a bit lower, but honestly, I'm going to say they're going to finish 3rd. Then finishing in 2nd and just missing out on the title, I'm going to say it's going to be Manchester United, guys. So a lot of people are tipping Man United for the title, and honestly, with Jose Mourinho in charge, I wouldn't be too surprised. Obviously, they've just got Paul Pogba coming in. They've got the other added quality in Zlatan Ibrahimovic and Mkhitaryan and Eric Bailly at the back. They're going to have a fantastic squad, and honestly, I think they're just going to miss out on the title. I think they'll run City close this year. However, I don't think they got quite enough of what it takes to win their title off Manchester City just at this point in time. Which of course means in 1st place and winning the Barclays Premier League, I'm going to say it's going to be Manchester City. So the reason I'm going to say it's Manchester City is they did what they needed to do, and Guardiola's done what he needed to do really in this transfer market so far. Last season, if you looked at everyone's squads on paper, Man City had the strongest squad, no doubt, hands down. They should have won the title last season with that squad they had. The reason I think they'll win it this year is because they've added what they needed to, and that's an abundance of youth into a pretty aging side, if I'm being completely honest. They already had first team quality in players like Aguero, Kevin De Bruyne, Silva, Torre, Company and Joe Hart, and I think they've added youth to that squad, which will, I think that should mean they'll be able to consistently perform throughout the whole season, and this aging squad has got a lot younger now. So saying that, I do think Manchester City are going to win the Barclays Premier League this season. So let me know in the comments down below, what do you think of that? Do you think City are going to do it this year? Let me know in the comments down below. I'll be very interested to know. So there you have it, guys. There are my Premier League predictions for the 2016/17 season, guys. So what I want to know are, what are your predictions? So let me know in the comments down below. If you don't have time to do all 20 clubs, that's absolutely fine. But let me know who you think the relegated 3 are going to be, and the top 4 as well. I'd be very interested to know. But like I said, guys, that will now wrap it up for this video. So if you have enjoyed, make sure you do leave a like on the video. It is always very much appreciated. Obviously as well, subscribe around here if you are new, and make sure you check out all the links in the description down below. Make sure you follow me on Twitter. I always tweet before I upload a video. They feel you never miss a video ever again, guys. But thank you so much for watching. So if you have enjoyed, make sure you leave a like, and I'll see you all in the next one.